Welcome to The Last Ottoman, a podcast series in which we discuss the Ottoman Empire and its legacy today. We're at the Paris Institute for Critical Thinking. My name is David Selim Sayers, and today, on the second episode of The Last Ottoman, we turn to a part of the world that was never associated with the Ottomans, but is today evincing uncanny echoes of the ordeals the empire underwent during its disintegration. I'm talking about Afghanistan. And I'm joined today from Afghanistan by international journalist, long-standing supporter of the Paris Institute, and dear friend, Mortaza Behboudi. Mortaza, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
Mortaza, you were born in Afghanistan, and you spent part of your youth in the country in the early 2010s. And since the Taliban takeover in 2021, you have traveled from France to Afghanistan multiple times as a journalist. Visit after visit, what were the most remarkable changes you remember noticing in the country? And what is the big picture you see when you put all these changes together?
Yes, actually, it was on April 2021, before the Taliban that took over the Afghanistan. I was in Kabul, actually. I arrived for the first time after years. Being with friends, finding out, going to the university where I studied before. I mean, seeing everything. I mean, young people, they're free, going to coffee shops, restaurants, for example. We see some girls, young girls, just take care of the scarf. Sometimes it just fall away. We see young people going to the restaurants, coffee shops, late night, despite of the terrorist attacks, despite of the explosions every day in Afghanistan, especially in Kabul and some areas. But young people, they were happy studying, going to school. Young girls, young people, people work. The restaurants, coffee shop run by girls, women, entrepreneurs. Women became, since 21 years, the last regime of Taliban from 1996 to 2001. In 21 years, women, they became journalists, movie maker, entrepreneurs, and more. But I spent 3 months and a half in Afghanistan from April to July, and had to leave, but we coming back in August, just a day after Kabul fell down to Taliban, and the Taliban took over Afghanistan. Everything changed. For example, we see that Taliban curtailed the freedom of expression, movement, access to education, employment, for example, and everything can imagine, especially for women and young girls. And the images that I had from Afghanistan, like only in 1 month, everything changed. For example, I think it's been more than 250 days since Taliban, banned the girls from school. They are denying the basic human rights. Over 500,000 of Afghans lost jobs since Taliban take over the country. More than 400 media closed. So activists, journalists, people who worked for Westerners, Americans, Europeans, they live in hiding.
So you're saying that the change was really, really sudden and immediate in people's lives, right? I mean, from one day to the other, you say that basically everything changed.
Yes, actually, people, they didn't know what to do.
Right.
When Taliban arrived, everyone was hiding.
Right.
The streets in Kabul, the cities, big cities, was a ghost. Right. Nobody in the street. They were running to the airports to leave the country.
So you're talking about Kabul. Was the change as sudden and as clear in the countryside, or was the change, how did people around the different regions of the country perceive the change?
Yes, actually, as in Afghanistan, the big cities, we see the changes. I mean, in the Kabul, it's always a capital. It's a vitrine of for Taliban to show that we changed, but not at all. Since it's about a year that they are here, 10 months. Taliban take over the country. I also travel to the countrysides, to the villages, and see people how they survive, trying to survive actually. They don't have a jobs. They are starving. Many child they have malnutrition, severe malnutrition. The hospitals, many hospitals are closed because of the war, and they have to travel to the big cities in order to go to hospital, for example. We have a problem, humanitarian crisis. People they don't have anything to eat. I asked to the young girl, 6 years old, 7 years old, in the countryside in a village. I asked, "What did you eat this morning?" And she replied, "I just ate tea and bread."
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, in a way, the situation in the countryside is even more severe than the situation in the big cities, maybe.
Yes, absolutely. When you see people, they are displaced because of the war in the villages or in the big cities like in Kandahar. They left homes. They are living in a tent since 10 months. They don't have anything to eat. Sometimes even the international organization they don't go to see them. It is the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. What we see right now, as UN said also.
Yeah, yeah. Mortaza, so basically, maybe it is not even really correct to talk about the Taliban takeover because what you're describing is not like there is an authority that actually rules the country.
Well, right now, I mean, there's a conflict between Taliban also. The problem is they cannot lead. They're just coming from the mountains. They don't know how the city works, how the changes happen in Afghanistan since 1 years. The last regime of Taliban, they are right now they're sitting in their offices. They don't know what to do since 10 months. They did nothing. Then just banning girls from schools, freedom of movement for women, for example, creating more madrasas, the Quranic schools right now, putting burqa or niqab or obligatory hijab for women right now. We see all of this. Only they're just limiting the basic human rights of people, especially for women.
Right.
And they didn't. We see now with the humanitarian crisis, nothing is even some international NGOs they prefer to give to people the what they are bringing in, but Taliban they are saying no, you have to give us to Taliban. But of course, I mean they're saying that we are here against corruption, but they are the most corrupted people as we see today.
Right. I mean, and what you're describing is basically instead of ruling in a pragmatic way that actually does something in order to enable the lives and livelihoods of people, they are basically limiting themselves to political gestures.
Yes, as they did it actually since Doha. Their headquarters, as they have the representative, international representative and spokesperson, were talking during the negotiation they did since 2 years for the U.S. that their promise, all the promise to not change the rights of women, young girls, there all was a lie.
Right.
Only a lie to the Westerners that they agreed on that, but today they are denying everything.
Right. And since since the Taliban rule, I mean, as you were saying, is kind of reduced to this negative sort of administration where they if you can call it that, where they outlaw this and that and the other, but they can't bring anything positive to the table. And the result is this incredible humanitarian situation that you describe in the country. That this falling apart of the basic ability of people to survive in the country. But this is affecting different people in different parts of the country in different ways, right, Mortaza? Because we know that Afghanistan is a remarkable patchwork of different ethnicities and religious identities and linguistic identities and regional identities, and they are not all being affected in the same way by this situation, are they?
Of course, yeah. I mean, we see right now the different ethnic groups in Afghanistan. I mean, if I say we have the majority is the Pashtuns, Tajiks, Uzbeks, and Hazaras, which there are also Hazaras minority of Shiite minority in Afghanistan, persecuted from 40 years, since 40 years of war. Right now, we see the Tajiks, for example, in the Panjshir Valley, where there's a little resistance of people. They're still fighting in the mountains. They're killing innocent people, Taliban. They're looking for that they're accusing people of being a spy or helping resistance in the mountain. The farmers, they're killing farmers. They're arresting people, innocent people. We see it that way. Every day, many tens of people, they're dying, have been killed by Taliban right now. At the other side, we see the Hazara community, the Shiite minority. Since the last regime of Taliban, 1996, in a small village, they killed more than 300 Hazaras because they're Hazaras. They have a different religion. I mean, they're Shiite and Taliban of Sunni. And they put them in prison. They tortured them, persecution, not only in a village in Bamiyan. They killed 300 people, but also many people, they escape in the mountains from Taliban, Hazara people. Right now, we see they're arresting many Hazara activists, women especially. They protest for their rights since the beginning of, since last August. We see now many girls, Hazara girls, they are in prison of Taliban right now. All the explosions, all the terrorists, all the attacks, explosions are against Hazara community. We had Taliban before making attacks in Kabul and other cities, right? And we had also Daesh, but right now we have some attacks are like ignored by both, and we don't know what is happening, who is doing this. But we see right now that Taliban, they're limiting us. They are not giving any opportunity to Hazara community. And also we see in this other hand, Tajiks, that they're being accused helping the resistance in the Panjshir Valley.
So would you say,
we can call it, it's not Afghanistan. We can call it, it's Talibanistan.
Yeah. I mean, because
it became from Republic Islamic of Afghanistan. It became to the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. I mean, come on, Afghanistan. When we say Afghanistan, we know Afghanistan is an Islamic country. It's I mean, in the media, everything. I mean, the more dangerous or whatever, and they put the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, the worst of the worst.
Yes. And this really, I mean, it when you do that on both sides, I mean, when you're reporting on Afghanistan like that, you are denying the diversity, the diverse reality of the country. And also from the inside, when the Taliban pursue policies like that, of course, they're doing the same thing. Because it seems to me from what you're describing is that they see the task of governing and controlling the country as equal to some program of ethnic cleansing and homogenization.
Yes, that's it. When we see that they don't have any respect for other people, as we see it in the government right now, in the Taliban government, we see only Pashtuns or only two groups of the Taliban, the Kandahari people, for those Mullah Omar part of Taliban, Haqqani network, when you see the Haqqani, even there's a conflict between Haqqani network and the Mullah Omar. There been many attacks. Even the son of the Mullah Omar was attacked in a terrorist attacks. I mean, what happened in the mosque a few days ago. When we see that the Haqqani network, they're pushing this, that they're limiting the girls to the schools and other things. We say, okay, I mean, who's leading the country? Even right now, there's this this conflict between the in Taliban, but uh, I'm sure that the what happened, what UN released a few days ago, the Security Council released about the link of Taliban, especially Haqqani network with the Al Qaeda right now. They made some connections. Still, Afghanistan will go. It's back to the 20 years ago. The last time they continued for 5 years of government, but this year we'll see, because nobody wants this Islamic Emirates, Afghanistan.
Yes, and I mean,
Because
it's basically, it's not a situation in which the state is a system that provides a kind of framework for everybody who lives in the country, but the state is a limited resource, and different fractions, different parts of the country or different populations are fighting for control of it, and they are going to use the control of the state in order to oppress the other parts of the country.
That's it. Actually, exactly what they did 21 years ago in 1996. They were saying that, okay, Afghanistan was saying this is the Pashtuns are belong to Afghanistan. Tajiks, they have to go to Tajikistan. It's a country. They have to go there, leave the country. Uzbeks go to Uzbekistan. Is a country there. And Hazaras, they belong to nowhere. Let's kill them.
They belong to nowhere, so let's kill them, right? This is the yes, absolutely.
This is the opinion.
So Mortaza, one thing that I sort of a question that's been on my mind as you've been describing this is, in light of all of this conflict, in light of all of this opposition, what does it even mean to be Afghan today? I mean, is there a common Afghan identity that the people in Afghanistan share?
Right now, everyone, as we see we see very few young people there in the streets, but there is still people are trying to do things. We see the hidden schools happening. People, they are doing things together from between those. They're okay saying that the group dominated by Pashtuns or whatever. Now we see that some Pashtuns, even, they are not agree with the Taliban rules. They are very apart. They're just coming from another country, as 15% of Taliban coming from Pakistan. And in 1994, that founded the movement. Especially, they all studied in Pakistan. I don't know where we're coming from, but they're not Afghans. But right now, young people, those people, they're trying to do things. For example, I visited some schools, hidden schools. They're teaching to the girls. They are banned from schools, the high school girls and college. And also the teaching English languages. We see some, because now sports, they're banned to do sports also, women. There's some sport clubs hidden in the basement. They're doing that all together.
So basically, you're saying that what unites people is the resistance to oppression.
The resistance to the oppression, of course. Not. We see some people, yes, some people, they cannot stay here because they work for Americans, for Europeans. They're activists, journalists. Others, they criticize Taliban for years, but they have to leave. But those people, don't want to leave. They make the movement of resistance, make some protests, go attack the wall, the night. Girls, young girls, we see that. The schools, this sort of resistance, the courage that they have right now, especially young girls now, most of them, they are in jail of Taliban. They have been released. They're telling me what happened in the jail for them. Every moment they just wish to go out. They were been tortured, even they've been raped by Taliban. The Taliban, they're talking about the Islamic law. They raped young women in a jail, the young activists, to be a listen to others somehow. I don't know what they're thinking,
And so,
but
yeah.
what they're doing this, it's not the Islam. What I mean,
Yes.
they're now doing.
Yeah. That is which form of Islam that is supposed to be compatible with? I have no idea.
Yes, or Sharia. It's their own version of Sharia. It's not even written in Quran or Islam.
Of course. Of course. And Mortaza, what I want to ask you is, with this resistance that you're describing, that comes especially from young people and from young women, do you see this as something that can unite a country, or is this something that is specific to urban areas? I mean, is this kind of consciousness something that can bring a whole country together?
As it's already the case, we see that people, they're all together. We see the woman movement, they're creating WhatsApp groups. They're expressing themselves in the social media. I'm talking to the woman activists. Now they are banned to go to protest in the streets. Even the journalists, they cannot film them because they put them in jail. They're talking in Twitter. They're posting. This kind of resistance. When I see that people, all the people going share it, like it, the news, what is happening, even from outside, those people have been evacuated. They're outside living Afghans. They're also supporting those people. They're staying here, and they're publishing articles online on social media, and there's some explaining things or filming themselves in a house. They're doing things. This resistance, this supports of people from inside and outside. This unites now Afghans, those they don't want the Taliban law, Taliban government.
Right. And I mean, maybe this is also something that has united Afghans in the past, as you had the different empires that have trod all over the territory. I mean, this is something that has brought people, I assume this is something that has brought Afghans together for centuries now.
Yes, I mean we had Sovietics, we had after that the Civil War, we had English, we had Taliban, Americans, and what they did actually right now, they just brought money, and the money went to the pocket of some corrupt people to the high level position in the government. Those workshops they organized for young people, and they abandoned them, like suddenly they left, was really, was the worst thing they could do. That time, that Taliban, they were just coming up to taking cities after cities. What US did actually that time, as they started the negotiation between the Afghans nationals and the Taliban in Qatar, 3 years, 4 years, every year. But what they did, this irresponsible retreat in May, was irresponsible. What they did was a big mistake, and now everybody's saying that. I mean, Afghans people, I mean, they had that a few freedom that they could study, they could become entrepreneurs, teachers, journalists. Today, everything gone, and they did nothing. For me, those people, Westerners, Americans, it's only a bubble. Anything, no, it's nothing. It's gone. Everything gone for them. They cannot study. They cannot work. Those women, they did since 21 years. For what they were here in Afghanistan?
Yes. For what?
Is that the country that? So I mean, we had Soviet. Come on. I mean, they wanted to just we stopped. Afghans stopped Sovietics. We had as Americans came. Why Americans came to Afghanistan? Okay, right now, I mean, they're saying, okay, the money is now in the blocked in the Afghan money is blocked in US. They're gonna give them to the survivors of the 9/11. Come on, it is the money belongs to Afghans. No Afghans were in the 9/11 attacks. Was Al Qaeda things, and right now what we see right now, this the big mistake of that now Afghans they hate them. There's they just create this hate. They were
Yes.
here, they left.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, this is something this incredibly awful relationship with forces, with powers that have come from the outside world has maybe done more to define what it means to be Afghan than a lot of things that divide people.
It was not for Afghanistan. It was not for Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Afghanistan, it is a strategic country in a strategic zone, and the geopolitics. Afghanistan, Central Asia, border to the Middle East. We have a neighborhood to Iran. I mean, Americans were here to also to keep an eye on Iran.
Yes. Yes.
And also to be there to not let people to not give the country to the Russians. They are in the same time in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, what they did right now, the region countries, they were against America, US, Iran, Pakistan. We had also the China. We had also Russia. They supported Taliban to just like to make America live.
Yes. Yes.
And nothing for Afghans.
Right.
All the money they spend in Afghanistan.
Nothing for the Afghans themselves, which sort of, Mortaza, which makes me want to ask you, because you've spent so much time with regular people in Afghanistan. You've traveled throughout the country. You've been in the city. You've been in the countryside. You've talked to so many people. Are there some stories that made an impact on you? Are there some particular stories of real people that you want to share?
I mean, when I see in the villages, I mean, before we had, I mean, it was happening in the villages, in the small cities in Afghanistan, that people, they were selling their child because of starvation, kids, in order to keep the other, or to help the other to not die. They had to sell one, but now it's increasing every day. I saw people in families, they're selling their children in order to survive, to help other kids to not die.
Mortaza, you talk about selling children. I have difficulty imagining how that is supposed to work. I mean, this is a crazy question, but how do you actually do that? How does that happen?
I mean, the mother were telling me, mothers in the villages and tents, they were displaced because of war, living in tents since a year and more. They were telling who can separate the beloved ones from the families, from mothers, child from the mothers. But in this situation, they cannot let all children die. And for example, the other people living in the city, they have some money, for example. If they are not rich, we cannot say they're rich. They have some money, but they cannot have a baby. Those young couples, they heard that, okay, some families in these camps or in these villages, they're selling babies. Okay, let's go and take them because they can have a better future in our houses. And they go and they negotiate and they take it.
That is an incredible story, Mortaza. I mean, that is...
And they have, we see it now, it's increased. Every day is happening in the camps. It's far from the eye of the humanitarian actors, international organizations. Nobody can do anything right now. Even nobody is aware of this. I mean, we published an article. Now it's going viral everywhere from Norway to all the countries. They're talking about this, that how is this case is increasing in Afghanistan, and everyone wants to sell their child in order to survive, to not let other children die.
That is an incredible story, Mortaza. Mortaza, as I said at the beginning, and is obvious to everybody who is listening to this podcast right now, you're not just a neutral observer of what's happening in Afghanistan. I mean, I don't believe in the existence of a neutral observer anyway, but you were actually, as I said, you were born in Afghanistan and you lived there as a young man, and your perspective is an inside, is an embedded perspective. So I want to ask you, overall, when you think about Afghanistan, what do you think and feel? I mean, what goes on inside of you?
I mean, it's very sad. Where I studied in a university where I could go to the girls part of cafeteria. I could talk to the girls. We could talk, meet, discuss. To work together today, impossible. Even they separated the girls and the boys classrooms. The girls going to school in the morning, and the boys in the afternoon to the university. What I feel, my Afghanistan is gone. What I born with the music, with the culture, with all this meeting, all this different traditions by different ethnic groups, all this diversity of cultures in the country, all gone in just a day. And Westerners are responsible for that. They came over and over to Afghanistan. They played like other countries. We see the war in Syria, in Yemen. Whose war is that? Why
Yes.
they are doing this in the poor countries, like in Afghanistan, since more than 40 years? For me, now, no. I mean, this little hope I had before, that many people, I could study there. Now I'm studying abroad. I'm working abroad. I couldn't stay country, but I'm back now talking about the situation. Even me, right now, I cannot work easily. I have to hide. I have to give fake names. I have to give fake to Taliban in order not to be arrested. You see, Western journalists, they're coming here. They're protected by their countries. But me, as Afghan, with Afghan name, can work very hardly here in Afghanistan. Afghan journalists, they have been tortured.
Yes.
Are gone, arrested.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they continue their job to show the international community what is really happening in Afghanistan.
Right. What is really happening. And one day, hopefully, this amazing work, this remarkable work that you're doing right now, Mortaza, and people like you, one day, hopefully, it will make it possible for us to, again, when we talk about Afghanistan, to not talk about things like this, but to talk about the beautiful diversity that you described, to talk about the music, to talk about the cuisine, to talk about the amazing things that can happen when diverse people come together and they decide to share a life based on a common set of convictions and values. Hopefully, your work can take us one step closer to talking about that Afghanistan again.
Yes, because Afghanistan was over and over in media about the conflicts, to war, from things Taliban always, and now even the media, they are responsible for that. Westerners media, they're coming to Afghanistan. They always want to talk to the Taliban because they were hiding in the mountains. Today they are in the streets everywhere, in the parks. They want to talk to them, but those people that you want to talk to them, they took everything from us.
Yes.
They took our culture, our traditions, our music, our freedom of movement, education, all the basic human rights.
Yes, Mortaza, this is This has been an incredibly powerful interview for me. It's difficult for me to let you go, but I have to at this point. Thank you so much for sharing these insights with us. Thank you so much for sharing your personal perspective with us, not a sort of observer, so-called neutral outside perspective on the situation, but somebody who's living this from the inside and somebody who's living this on the inside, on your own inside. Thank you so much, Mortaza.
Thank you.
With that, we've reached the end of this remarkable episode of The Last Ottoman, a podcast series in which we discuss the Ottoman Empire and its legacy today. We are at the Paris Institute for Critical Thinking. My name is David Selim Sayers, and today I had the absolute privilege of being with journalist Mortaza Behboudi, who took the time out of his harrowing schedule to join us from Kabul, Afghanistan, from where he has been reporting tirelessly since the Taliban takeover in 2021. I would like to thank Mortaza, and I would also like to say a special thank you today to Sage Waters, who designed the beautiful logo of our podcast. Many people have been commenting on it, so thank you, Sage, for your outstanding work. If you, our listeners, would like to support The Last Ottoman or the rest of our non-profit volunteer work at the Paris Institute, I invite you to become a member of our community. Membership starts from €3 a month and enables free public lectures, open access online journals and podcasts like this one, fair compensation for our course instructors, and everything else we do at the Paris Institute to create a public space for critical and creative thinking. Membership is easy. Just visit our website at parisinstitute.org. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next episode.